Yo soy Jeannette y estoy aquí con Hugo. Hugo, ¿nos puedes platicar dónde estamos hoy en Tulum y un poquito más de usted?
Sí, claro. Mi nombre es Hugo Villagomez, Villalobos, y bueno, el día de hoy tenemos la oportunidad de visitar el sitio arqueológico de Tulum, que es uno de los sitios más emblemáticos del estado de Quintana Roo.
Gracias. No, lo digo en inglés también. Hey everyone, I'm Jeanette. I'm here with Hugo, who is going to give us a really insightful tour. Hugo, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where we're at today?
Yeah, well, my name is Hugo Villagomez, and we are in Tulum. Today we'll visit the most emblematic site of the Riviera Maya in the state of Quintana Roo, and I am the official historian or the official chronicler of the city of Tulum.
The language,
As a joke, we call it the tourist tree because, like most of tourists, after 1 week here, they turn red and peel off. ¿Sí? Entonces, the tree was very important. We call it chaca in Maya, and in Spanish it's called palo de mulato. And the tree was important because Mayans used the sap of the tree to make their cement. So when you make the cement with this sap, you know, some elements of the quicklime are forced to come out of the plaster. When Mayans plastered over a wall, some elements, you know, were pushed out, and it's like calcite. Something like calcite, and then when Mayans painted, this element was over the painting because the pigment was soaked in. When they painted with the fresco technique, so the pigment was soaked in and this element was pushed out, so that was like a varnish over the painting and protected the walls. Now this technique is called chukum, is very expensive in the area, and it is very popular too. Okay.
I just want to see if I can. I know.
A very unique site. First, because it is on the coast. Tulum is not the only Mayan city on the water. Just in the hotel zone of Cancun, there are about 12 different sites. But it is the biggest one. Tulum is not the only Mayan walled city, but it is the most popular one. See? And the wall you see there is enclosing a very small area of 200 by 400 meters. Some sections of the wall, as you see here, are very thick. Some parts are 18 feet, 6 meters thick. The highest part of the wall is 15 feet, 5 meters high. So, and the 5 gates are very narrow. They are easy to defend, to control, like this one. So that's why some historians believe Mayans built the wall for protection. Okay, that seems to be a good idea. The problem is that the western side of the wall, most of it is this high. So that's why modern archaeologists believe this was a social barrier rather than protection. You have to bear in mind that some of the information we get in the internet, some of the information was written by archaeologists before or during the first half of the 20th century. So they were under the influence of the two world wars. See, modern archaeologists have a different perspective. ¿Sí? Bueno, ¿podemos pasar por aquí?
¿Es la entrada?
Sí.
Two person were very important. John Steven wrote 2 books. How was it the Maya territory?
Before talking about buildings, I like to explain you the way Mayans regarded their universe. Because, well, sometimes And this is very interesting for me because sometimes when we offer our services to the Mexican visitors, they decline the tour guides, see? Because most of Mexicans believe that we are Mexicans and we know everything about Mayans and Aztecs and all the ethnic groups of this country. But that's a wrong idea. That's a wrong idea because in the very moment Spanish converted Mayas, Aztecs, Zapotecs, Mixtecs, Tarascans, and other native groups into the Christianity, in that very moment we lost over 50% of our cultural identity. See? So we are lucky because the Catholic tradition, a Pope, Gregory, I don't remember if it was Gregory the 12th or the 13th, when that Pope was told by the monks, friars in Germany, that Germans were still sacrificing horses, so he created a bulla, a Pope's order, to establish one very important thing. He said that as long as Germans, as long as Celts included a Catholic saint in their rituals, they could keep celebrating their ceremonies, their pagan ceremonies. ¿Sí? Entonces, that's important because that means that when Europeans came to America, they kept the same practice. So they allowed the natives of this country to preserve their traditions, their beliefs, as long as they included Catholic saints. So the rain god was replaced by San Isidro Labrador. The moon goddess was replaced by the Virgin of Guadalupe, and so on. Okay? So, Mayas, this is what I began to mention you at the beginning. Mayas, Greeks, Celts, Germans, Egyptians, Hindus, Aborigines in Australia, all Africans, all natives of America had basically the same religion. So they had something we call in anthropology animistic religion. An animistic religion, that means that they worship the elements of nature. So they had a wind god, they had a rain god, they had a wind goddess, they had a god, they had a water god, they had an earth goddess. So in anthropology, this animistic religion is very interesting because all gods and goddesses normally are portrayed part animal and part human. Like Neptune with the fish tail, Anubis or Horus with the jackal's head, the bull's head, Ganesh with the elephant's head. Bueno, here we had Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, a human being, part animal, part bird, part serpent, and part human. Okay, and we had these gods and goddesses who were good and evil at the same time. Why? Because that's the way nature is. And the best example of this idea is the rain god, the water god. Because the water god is good when he provides the proper rains to have good crops. But when he's causing droughts or floods, he's evil. So that's why whenever Mayans celebrated a ceremony, they tried, like in the sacred tree, they tried to connect their heavens, the earth, and the underworld. So the Yashe tree, the one we saw by the entrance, was the natural conduit to connect the three layers of the universe. Pyramids were the artificial one. So the best place, the ideal place to build a temple was a high ground with a cave underneath. So in Chichen Itza, underneath the castle, there is a cenote. Underneath the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico City, we have a cave. Here we have a cave. So these were perfect temples because we're in higher grounds, they had an access to the underworld, and the room crowning the building was the artificial gate to their heavens. So these were perfect temples. Okay? Bueno. ¿Alguna pregunta? 12,000 inhabitants maybe. Some people, depending on who you are reading, because some historians believe there were just 5,000 inhabitants here. Anyway, the Chichen Itza was a first-class site. So what's the difference? let's say in a physical way between Chichen Itza and Tulum. Well, in Chichen Itza, in Cobá, which is another first-class site, we'll find buildings for public administration. We can find actual stone palaces, not like this one, and we can find ball fields. So the lack of those three elements tell us that Tulum was a third-class site, and we can say that politically Tulum depended from Chichen Itza. See, we have the same architectural style, we have a similar decoration, so we can say that the Itzayas of Chichen Itza had a very important role in the foundation and in the construction of this city. Maybe Tulum was a seaport for them. Okay? From over here you will see what is back there. And in these kind of buildings, in these kind of houses, normally the first room is always bigger than the others because this was a sort of a receiving area. So the owner of the house sat in that narrow sun bench we see in the back. That's where the owner of the house sat on mats, pelts, on pillows. And sometimes in the paintings, carvings left by Mayans, we can see the noble people surrounded by servants, fanning their masters, with feather fans about this big. They look like the Egyptian ones. And sometimes we can see sitting next to the owner of the house, we can see a scribe represented by a rabbit or a monkey or a human being. Sometimes we see them keeping records of the taxpayers, of the taxes paid by the locals. And during the day we had activity here. Sometimes we can see these noble people being entertained by actors, dancers, musicians, jugglers, dwarves. We can see women offering tamales, fruits, chocolate. There is a vase where we can see a woman pouring chocolate from up here to another vase on the floor to make frothy chocolate. I said that was the delicacy here. So in Cancun, Guatemala, archaeologists found some vases inside a grave, and when archaeologists ran a chemical analysis in the vase, they found out that Mayans drank chocolate just with water. Water, chocolate, corn. They had to boil the corn, they had to grind it, and then they mixed that with honeybee, with all spice, and honeybee, vanilla.
So how we drink it now? We're trying.
Now we have something similar called pozol. In the streets of Tulum, you can see some people selling pozol, cacao with chocolate and just water.
So cacao, water.
Now they add sugar, a lot of sugar, but ancient Mayans drank it with honeybee because there was not sugar cane in America. Sugar cane was introduced by Europeans from India. That's why when Europeans came to America, they planted sugar cane in every single island. See? Because sugar was important, that's the spice they needed from India. Not all the spices, because you can live without spices. The problem is sugar. And once they planted sugar, the most important product of all the islands today is rum.
Rum?
Rum, see? Like Captain